Good morning. This is the JP Dinnell podcast, episode 67. I am JP Dinnell, and as always, I have Lucas with me. And I'm also thankful we're kicking off the new year, 2025. Let's go, baby. What's up, Lucas? How are you?
What is up, dude? Happy freaking New Year.
I know, man.
It's
I know. It's good.
It's early on in 2025, and already feeling a little sketchy.
I was wondering how you were going to open this up.
Yeah, approach that. You know, the new year and me,
sketchy.
we always start off with a little bit of mistrust. Any relationship, it's built on four things, really: trust, listen, respect, and something else. Influence. Yeah. And so currently,
And then the fifth one is
care.
Care, yes.
And 2025 so far does not care about us.
Oh, man. It's
But
unfortunate.
I am trying to show it some trust, and I'm trying to listen. And currently, I'm not getting very much back.
No,
Inanimate objects are pretty good about,
at ignoring
especially
you.
more like ideas,
Yeah.
right? Because the year is really an idea. How philosophical do you want to get?
Let's go deep.
All right, I'm done. That was it. We've plunged the depths of my annual philosophy.
I actually wanted.
No, yeah, it's the whole concept of New Year's is so weird to me, just in general, because this is the like, oh, I'm gonna do that. I've been talking to the Montgomery. Well, my friend Max Plank has been talking to the Montgomerys, and I'm one of these people that, like, in my mind, if I'm gonna start something, like, I need to do it on Monday, right? Like, if I'm gonna start a diet, or if I'm going to start a meal plan or whatever, that, like, in my brain, I got to start Monday. And I don't know why that is. There's this weird, like, mental block that's there. And it's funny to me because, like, I know that I'm like that and I have to fight against it, but I make fun of the people that are like, oh, I'm going to wait till January 1st to do this. I'm like, that's stupid. That's an arbitrary day. Like, Monday has something special about it.
Yeah,
like, my way of doing it is so much
Like
more
if I like
wonderful.
when I did when I've done 75 hard in the past or other things that I know is like, hey, you're going to be tracking it. I like to start on Sundays.
Yeah?
Yep, because it's the calendar.
Right.
When you look at a calendar,
You know exactly
Sunday
what's going on.
starting the week and Saturday,
Yeah, I waited until the 1st of August to start 75 hard. I was like, that way it's just super easy to count how far into it I am.
Smart.
I mean, is it? Because it was one of those, obviously, like, we accomplished it, but it was one of those that I pushed it weeks down the road to start it so that I could start it on a certain date.
Okay,
and
so
there's some of that, like, delayed, the procrastination. That's what it's called. It's called procrastination,
Yep.
Jeremiah.
Yeah, I'm aware. If you could have changed something up, if you could change something up about that within yourself, what would it be?
Stop being a meow meow and just do it.
Okay.
That would be it.
So what's...
I don't know that I'm going to put that on my vision board for 2025.
No, probably not. So, okay. If you're being serious, like, hey, I procrastinate things, or
Oh, for sure,
this
yeah.
is what I do.
Yeah, this is a thing for me.
So what is something that you think you could do that would help create a new habit to change that?
I think one of the things is, and we've talked about this before, is doing a little bit of the stuff that, that isn't pressing, right? That, like, if, like tonight, I'm going to edit the episode of this podcast, but there's a sermon that I've got to prepare for Sunday. We are looking to do all of our year-end financial stuff at the church and with my production company and then with our family. But, like, the year-end financial stuff isn't due until April. Yeah. And that's going to be easy to wait until, like, April 10th to be like, oh, hey, I need to get all this paperwork together, instead of, whatever, talking from the family perspective. But doing a little bit of that today, because the podcast is going to get done regardless.
Yep.
Right? The podcast has to get done. Well, that doesn't. So trying to develop that habit of, like, hey, you know what? Do a little bit of something that isn't 100% pressing today, and, you're going to give that much more time to, future you.
Nice. Yeah. Jocko's talked about that before, where if he has these, like, list of things, it's like, hey, I have these things. Which of those things do you think I'm working on first? And that goes like, well, the pressing things, like the ones that things. And Jocko's like, nope. I do the other things
Yeah.
because the other things are a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
So he'll get, because he said it's real easy. Like, let's just say, hey, writing a new book and I need to get 1,000 words a day done.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool. I'll do that. But I also have to record and do some, like the recording has to happen because it has to be done so that it can be edited in time.
Yep.
He'll do his writing before the recording.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to be like, well, okay, I'm going to do the recording and then do the recording and I'll do the writing later. And it's like, well, you already pushed the writing back once. It's easier to keep pushing it back because you already, you're kind of telling yourself, not kind of, you're telling yourself that the writing's not that important. That's why you didn't do it. And it keeps getting pushed back. There's a handful of things in my life that I have done that with as well, that I'm just like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yep.
Because it's not. But in reality,
it is.
It could be.
Yeah.
And
It's one of those things too, though. Like if you keep it mounting, then it becomes more and more daunting whenever you sit down to do it. Like now, all right, so I know I've got 20,000 words due at the end of the month. I need to write 1,000 words a day. Well, I skipped 2 days. Well, now all of a sudden I got to write 2,000 words. And then, it comes to that last week and you're like, holy crap, I got to crank out whatever that is, like 4,000 words a day in order to make this happen.
Yeah. It's like,
it becomes really intense.
There's a group of guys that were doing like 100 burpees a day for the month of December.
Yeah.
And, there's guys that like just like miss a day and then you miss 2 days and 3 days. And it's like, hey, you want to get back on that path? And they're like, all right, well, I'm back on it. But they're wanting to make up the other missed days. And it's like, well, now you got to get 400 burpees done today to be back on track. And it's like, okay, if I take that 400, and I split it up by, 4 days. Okay. And then I'll just do an extra 100 a day for 4 days. And then that doesn't happen. And then you could catch up. I mean, if you just but that's the thing is like there has to come a point where you're just like, all right, no more hard line. Hey, I have to somehow get 700 burpees done today. How am I going to get that done? And that it's like, that could be a completely unrealistic goal or it could be something that you're like, okay, literally if I have an extra 3 minutes, I'm going to be doing burpees and you just do that all day long to get your burpees in, you might catch up. But I mean, it comes down to the daily discipline.
Well, yeah. And then what's that do to your body? Right? Like how many can you do the next day or the next like 3 days? Does that ruin you for that period?
It's very similar. Sorry, go ahead.
No.
I was going to say it's very similar to GSP. Remember the UFC fighter, George St. Pierre? Very similar to his training philosophy in life.
Yeah.
He trains every day. And the reason why he's able to train every day is he doesn't do too much work.
Yeah.
Now you can overtrain, obviously.
Sure. Oh, for sure.
My dad is always trained a lot in his life, and there's times where he's overtrained and,
it sidelines you.
I mean, yeah. And he would talk about like, when we were doing stuff like, hey, you can overtrain. You got to be careful because that's a real thing. I don't care who you are. You can overtrain, but most people aren't going to push themselves to the limit of overtraining.
No. And most people that do, it's an ego thing.
Yep. 100%. And it's like, hey, go super hard and then you're super sore. You don't do it the next day. But anyways, so GSP's thing was he would train every day. Yeah. And when you look at it from a volume perspective, he was out training everybody.
Right.
And he was really smart because he stayed close to his fighting weight.
Yeah. He never deviated too much.
So his cuts were super minimal. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, a cut that's going to exhaust you. It's going to drain you. You're dehydrating yourself of water to lose that weight. That's, and so, I mean, you look at the guy, he's still incredibly healthy, and he's a phenomenal athlete still.
Yeah.
It's a high level, does a lot of like gymnastics stuff and MMA stuff and jiu-jitsu stuff still. So it's like,
that's one of the reasons that they think is now we're like kind of following a whole different pattern of thought, but that the biologists and the doctors that are watching the UFC fighters, even the former UFC fighters, because they still like monitor them because they want to know like what happens to these guys. he's cognitively as good as he was when he was fighting. Not like some of these guys who've had these
Diego
crazy weight
Sanchez?
cuts. Oh my gosh,
Have
man.
you seen some of his videos?
It breaks my heart.
Like legitimately.
Yeah, like it's so sad.
I met him once. It was, dang, what year was that? 2012-ish, I think, or 13. Anyways, I met him in Albuquerque. I met John Jones that same day. I was at that gym training. My aunt went to high school with one of the coaches, knew I was training for an MMA fight. Needed to get some training in while I was in town, so I got to go in there, and it was like all of the guys that were like,
just all killers.
Yeah, like King of the Cage, heavyweight champion I sparred with.
That's cool.
A bunch of other guys in the UFC, and John Jones, Diego Sanchez.
Okay, so John Jones,
all those guys were there.
Did you just like shake his hand, or did you spar with him?
No, I got a picture with them.
Okay, cool.
Like, yeah, I mean, that would have been
I'm just curious. Like,
no, it would have been cool too. I would have
Right.
been cool to be able to like, just kind of feel him going at like 7%.
Yeah,
You know,
that was one of the things when we did that event with Tim Kennedy. They were like, "Are you going to roll with him?" I was like, "First off, there's not going to be time, right? But if there was, yes, I would let Tim Kennedy slaughter me in 15 seconds,
and it would
just
be
to
his 10%.
Yeah, at one so I could tell everybody for the rest of my life. Yeah, I rolled with Tim Kennedy.
Yeah.
How was it? It was horrible. It was the worst experience of my life. I would love to tell everybody that. Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on the dude's name. Russian type dude, Alec. Always like would paint his nails black.
Oh,
He had the pit bulls.
yeah.
So, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'm drawing a blank. He
I'll
was a
search
heavyweight.
the internet
He was a
while you do
heavyweight
it,
UFC fighter as well. Sparred with him. A bunch of other guys. So it was cool. They were being super, cool, like letting me train with them. I mean, they all whooped the crap out of me, obviously. Like had zero chance against any of these guys. But it was cool to be able to like keep going and just spar with all these guys. But Diego was there, and it was just unique being able to be that close to him and interact with him, and actually talk with him. And then now to see where he's at, it's just Andre Arlovsky.
Yeah.
Arlovsky.
Yeah.
That's what
there
it was.
we go.
Yep. Andre Arlovsky. Met him, talked with him, sparred
That's
with
rad.
him. He gave me like some I was just like, hey, and he's like, hey, just something to think about, and you're like kind of
stop doing this.
But it was crazy because I remember we were sitting outside the gym. Me and my dad were sitting there, and we're like waiting for guys to show up, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like looking there, like seeing guys show up, I'm like, oh man. And my dad's like, have fun.
Yeah, no joke. It's a little different than fighting the mailman.
Yeah. You see like Arlovsky like get out with his like pit bulls, and like it's just crazy. Like that whole like
wild.
what you see like on TV, like with these guys.
For sure.
You're seeing the same thing, and there's no camera set up. They're just getting out, and that gym, like a lot of those guys, like they had dogs and protection dogs, or dogs with them because that was just their thing.
It was the culture of that gym.
And the gym had a dog run built on the side of it.
Yeah.
For everyone's dogs, and they can put them in their little kennel spaces and everything else like that. And
that's crazy.
it's pretty cool.
That's
man.
awesome though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a lot to like all of those kinds of things. Then when it comes to not just like, and it's not just about training in moderation. It's about knowing, doing the honest self-assessment, training appropriately for your goals and where you're at, and those kinds of things. And I think so many people are derailed by the idea of starting something new or resolutions, because like, and we see this in people's spiritual walks, right? That they're like, oh, you know what, I'm not going to come to church because I got too many things I got to make up for in my life, instead of looking at it like, nope, today's the reset button.
Yeah.
Right? Like just start today and do these things. Like be better today than you were yesterday. Don't try to make up for everything you did for the past 30 years. Right. And that's one of the things I love about something like the Def Reset over a New Year's resolution, is because it is, you don't make up for yesterday. You just do what you're supposed to do for today.
Yep.
And that idea and that framework, I think, is so much healthier, because what is it? Quitter's Day this year. Do you know about National Quitter's Day?
No, I do not.
Okay, National Quitter's Day is the second Friday in January. And it is the day that they say close to 90% of people will fail in their resolutions on February 10th or on January 10th. That's the second Friday in January.
90%?
Almost 90% of people will fail in their resolutions on that day. Not like coming up to that day. 90% of people, the last statistic I saw, is that they will fail on the second Friday. Like that day marks failure for 90% of people that start their resolutions. Whether that's the first day that you decide not to go to the gym. That's the day that, like, you wanted to do your 21-day diet, and then there's a piece of cake or a cinnamon roll that's sitting there. That's the day that you decide to get it. The second Friday in January has some sort of magnetism that is National Quitters Day. And it doesn't matter if it is the 14th or the 8th or wherever it falls on the calendar. That second Friday is where most people fail in their resolutions. And my mind is totally blown by that. But it's also the reason, like I said, stuff like the Def Reset or stuff, things like what the folks at First In do, or anybody who's like looking or working with a coach or a training program has to break out of the January 1st mentality, or the Monday mentality. Because so if I failed on Thursday, right, if I break on Friday and fail to do my training or all of that stuff, then I'm looking at it as like, you know what, I'll start back again on Monday. And a lot of people, whenever they hit what this year is going to be January 10th, they're going to be like, you know what, I'll try again next year. Well, try again tomorrow. Like, don't wait another 50 weeks to start over. Like,
just go now.
Just go now and do tomorrow. So from a leadership standpoint, from a training perspective, from nutrition perspective, like all of these things kind of work together in this type of deal, whether it is we want to implement extreme ownership in our businesses, and one thing happens, we don't take ownership, we have a massive failure, and then we're like, I screwed the pooch for this week or whatever. That's actually a really terrible phrase that I grew up saying, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, that I need to eliminate that from my vocabulary. But we'll move on.
Maybe something.
So don't think about it too much. But like, no matter where that failure is, this idea that like, all right, well, I have to start it on Monday. I've got to start it on Sunday. I've got to start it on January 1st. How do we snap out of that? How do you coach people instead snapping out of that and just like, hey, all right, yeah, you messed up. Tomorrow is day one again.
Well, I think, you said how you get them to snap out of it. It's just, it's how you coach and talk with people. It's how you treat people. And, part of the reason why people have a hard time with these things is, I said this after our run, when we did the half marathon to honor those. I wasn't trying to like be diminishing of anybody that did the run or did something great, but it's just a run.
Yeah.
Like it's just a run. And I think if people could realize like, hey, you made a mistake. It's okay. You fell off the path. It's okay. Get back on the path. It's like, my brother went through, he stopped drinking, right?
Yep.
So he went through this phase where he's like, hey, I don't want to drink. I need help. We got him help, which this is like, I'm showing my brother love and respect by sharing this right now online.
Yeah.
Like,
Corey's an absolute unit, dude. He's a stud.
He's a great human. And the reason why I'm sharing this is, one, I don't think he would be embarrassed because there's nothing to be embarrassed about. The fact that he had the courage.
Yeah.
Right? I was going to use a phrase. I was going, maybe that's not appropriate. the courage to actually ask for help and say, hey, I don't want to drink like I am drinking anymore. Like, I need help. Can you help me? And I'm like, yes. And we got him help. And so guess what? He stopped drinking. He went through went through some help, and it was awesome. Right? Well, he had some drinks. And it's like, okay. At first, I could tell, and I remember like talking to him, like, hey, Corey, like nobody nobody cares that you had some drinks again. Just, just don't be drinking as much as you were, or go back to not drinking again.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
Yep.
And I think that's the approach that people need to think about when they're trying to help somebody get back on the path, or to get back to doing what they're supposed to be doing and back to not doing what they're not supposed to be doing. Is just like, hey, if you go in and you're like, hey, you're a freaking idiot. Why would you do that? Blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not going to help somebody. You have to have a coaching, mentoring type of mindset. And also, like, let's be real. Unless you're living an absolutely perfect, flawless life.
Not it.
Yeah, we crucified that guy, remember?
Right, yeah.
The one guy?
Yes.
So until you can actually live that type of lifestyle, then you shouldn't be very judgmental of people. And that's what I've been trying to work on is like, okay, cool. Hey, someone's doing something that pisses me off. Well, guess what? I do a lot of things that piss people off. I know I do. And it's like something I need to be working on. So until I can fix all my things, I'm going to focus on me, and I'm going to give people advice and guidance as they want. If they want it, cool. There's sometimes I'll say, hey, can I offer you some unsolicited advice? Like I'll ask people that.
Mm-hmm. You never ask me that anymore. I just get the advice now. Are we at that point in our relationship where you ask for forgiveness rather than permission?
Well, you just ask for it. So
that's probably true.
You're like, hey, JP, I'm up.
Yeah, okay. Here
Glad you brought it up. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, interesting thing.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah. But I think of that from just like a leadership aspect of how you approach things and how you communicate with your team is really important. And so to answer your question, I know I went on this long roundabout. To answer your question, it's, hey, just get back on the path. It's not that big of a deal. Don't take yourself so serious.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem is a lot of people take themselves so serious that it inhibits their ability to get back to doing what they should be doing. Because now all of a sudden it's like, oh, I failed and blah, 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 blah. And woe is me. And I can't believe I did that. And then it's like, well, oh, cool. Let me play the victim card because the victim card's really cool because that's easy and I can just blame other people and I can feel sorry for myself. And hey, it's fun to say that you're depressed and tired and unmotivated. And, because people give you sympathy when you say you're depressed and now you're sad because you didn't do what you're supposed to be doing. I mean, that's a rabbit hole people fall down really quick. And I'm not taking away from people that have actual clinical depression.
Right.
But I believe that the majority of the people that say they're depressed are saying it because they want attention. There are actual people that are clinically depressed and or have those issues. I know that. I know that.
Or they're massive life events that can cause a person for a period of time who doesn't typically have those kind of things to be depressed. Right?
100%.
We've got a buddy I've got a buddy who's right in the middle of something that's likely to push him in that way, like just lost his child. And it's not something he's necessarily prone to, but all of us are like, dude, we got to rally around this family.
And that's where that was coming from the back of my mind. Cause I've had some people, in my circle and, or like that I just hear about that are experiencing things that, okay, that's going to be legitimate life-changing depression type of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And I've been around people that have experienced actual depression and they've worked out of it. And that's what I get frustrated with. Like, your friend just lost his child.
Yeah.
Okay. So just lost his like baby boy.
Yeah, 5 months old.
And you have somebody that's going to say that they're depressed because they lost their job.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a life-changing type of thing, right? Like, like he lost his kid. And then there's somebody over here that's why the depression thing, I know I'm going to piss people off with that because I know there are people that legitimately have depression issues. I know that. I'm not diminishing that for those people. I think the majority of the people that I've interacted with, okay, from my interactions that claimed depression, it was BS.
Yeah. And
it was because they didn't know how to get back on the path again. They didn't know how to get back to work because it was easier for them to play the victim card and lie and seek attention other than putting in the hard work. And that's what pisses me off, because like the way my parents raised us is the opposite of that. There are plenty of times throughout our childhood that my parents could have played the victim card because somebody screwed them over. You know, like I remember times that like my parents actually being screwed over by people. And you know what? They decided to take the high ground, do the right thing, get back to work, and work themselves out of those situations. So that's just, for me, I have a hard time with that. And then if you're in that situation, like you said, like, hey, somebody, you know, this is what's going on with them, just guide them back to it. Like, hey, man, let's do it together. That's another thing I like to do is like, hey, you're having a hard time not drinking? Cool. Let's not drink together. Like, I'll stop drinking for a month if you can do it for a month. And like just getting people back on that path. But yeah, that's why I wrote down, like, having a good coach, leader in your life is critical. Like you need to have these good people, you know, having somebody from your church, you know, a pastor that you can talk to regularly, that can help you walk. Being a part of like a small group within your church, those are critical, because that's a group that's going to help you keep yourself accountable to doing these things, you know. And, you know, ultimately when you're talking about like people falling off the path that quick, they're lacking discipline. Would you agree?
I would. And, you know, with that, you know, with the depression conversation in particular, because it's such a hot button issue.
Can be. Yeah.
And I say that because oftentimes like depression is immediately conflated with all of mental health, where in reality, it's a piece of the greater part that makes that up. Of all of those things, this is, and I'm looking this up because I want to make sure that because we've done an exhaustive amount of reading and research on this, myself and other pastors and counselors that are in this area, because we want to be able to help people that have any type of mental health struggle, but particularly those who are struggling with depression because it seems so prevalent. Research suggests that depression is a form of social contagion, meaning it can spread through social networks, with people being more likely to experience depressive symptoms if those around them are also depressed, particularly in close relationships, roommates, family members, etc. This phenomenon is often explained by an emotional contagion, where emotions can be transferred through social interactions. Like this type of thing, and one of the things that sparked kind of my interest in all of this was right before I became pastor of the church here in Lake Dallas. I say right before, like a couple of years before, there was a student at, I believe at the high school, who took his own life. And then within about 6 months, there were 23 other attempts, like right at 24, to do the same thing in the junior high and the high school. And they were all related to this group. There was only like 1 or 2 degrees of separation from that person who took their own life. And one of the things that rapidly started to happen within the community is like this emphasis on mental health and mental health and mental health. And what it actually turned out that was needed was not this huge emphasis on mental health, but this sort of a step away from the influence of the people around you and kind of like remember who you are. Not to say that that isn't a piece of mental health or something that we shouldn't, counsel people towards, not just kids.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's one of those things that like, oh, I'm experiencing all this depression, I want to take my own life, and this kind of stuff. And as that stuff started to come up, what they realized is like this other thing was being romanticized. And it was the attention, it was the news coverage, it was all of that stuff.
Crazy.
And these other students that were close to them that also felt ignored, that also felt like nobody saw them, that were coming, not always, but sometimes from homes where the home life wasn't great.
Yeah.
That they saw that and they were like, this person was finally seen. That's what I have to do to be seen.
And then I think it would be interesting to dive into those researches and say, all right, what was their diet like? What was their activities like?
Yeah.
Were they healthy? Were they active? What were they eating and drinking? the environment at home is critical, sleep, all those things, you know, like these are all real things that if you're not eating the right food, if you're not getting good sleep, if you're not getting good exercise, I mean, that's going to have an effect on your body,
tremendous
negative
negative
the way
effect.
you look at yourself. So.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why, and I know he's sort of a controversial figure now in some circles, Jordan Peterson's original book, 12 Rules for Life, you know, that's one of the reasons that it had such tremendous success was that it talked about simple things that you can do. Tell the truth, make your bed, right? Stand up straight with your shoulders back. You know, one of the things he talks about early on in that book is that with his, in particular with, because he's a practicing clinical psychologist. Like the dude is not just a professor at Harvard and all of these other like tremendous schools, but he continued to practice. He was seeing patients, and one of the very first things he told his patients with depression was, wake up at the same time every day, regardless of the day, and regardless of what you have going on, and then start your morning out with fatty foods. And they were like, why? And he goes, it just works. And now he's been telling his patients, his clients to do this for 30 something years.
Weird. You mean like our grandparents used to start off their day with bacon and eggs,
right,
or ham and eggs, or eggs and steak, or eggs and
anything, right? Because eggs have all of those really great fats and cholesterols. But what now, you know, he's been telling people to do that for 30 years, and their doctors were like, that's insane. Don't do that. Your cholesterol is going to go through the roof. Now all the research is showing like, hey, if you do this, it helps so much with your brain that if you start off with these fatty, you know, we were sitting down a few months ago, and somebody was asking me when I was doing 75 Hard. We had some friends in town. You came and some other friends that listen to the podcast and do stuff with EF. We all went to lunch together after. They were asking me what my breakfast was, and I was like, my breakfast is 4 eggs, 4 egg whites, 10 almonds, a slice of cheese, you know, a half a bell pepper. And they're like, that's a lot of fat. And I was like, yeah. And you were like, bro, getting that fat in the morning is so important because it helps with not just your brain chemistry, but mood regulation, all of those kinds of things. One of the big issues that we've seen, and that I'm sure you've experienced with your daughters and their friends, we are parenting young kids. We're trying not to put too much of an emphasis on like the need for success, because I don't know about you, but all of the under like 18-year-olds, all the kids that are like in school, they're so terrified of failure.
Yeah, we were actually talking about this the other night, about how competitive I was as a kid and how competitive my kids are.
Yeah.
You know, and like they're like, oh yeah, you know, we were playing a game and the girls like, yeah, I get that from you, Dad. I get that from you, Dad. And I said, but the girls handle it way better than I did because they have jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So we do push our kids to be successful and to be competitive, but we're able to push them at a high level because they have jiu-jitsu as a humbling thing for them. And we've also explained to them like, hey, some things are going to fail.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to, you know, some things are going to fail and it's okay. You know, like they've heard the story where Jocko, you know, when he was like, hey, I need you to put your name on your helmet so you can step up, lead, and do all these things. But Jocko also told me, hey, when you do that, you're going to make some mistakes. That's okay.
Yeah.
And so we've told our kids, like, hey, when you step up and you're trying to do these things, you're going to make some mistakes. Like when Cora signed up for the jiu-jitsu tournament and, you know, she went out there and competed very well against 2 girls that were like the top 2 girls
just
in
killers.
that. Yeah. I think they're like the top 2 girls in her age and weight. You know, and she did very well, but she lost both of her matches. And it's like, all right, hey, that's okay. Nobody's upset. Nobody's mad at you. You did great. Like, I'm proud of how hard you fought out there and, you know, all these things that you did. So they recognize like, okay, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And so that's how you can push your kids to like, pursue success and winning, daily. Like you should you should be trying to win daily. Like everything you should be trying to win at, but recognize that like, hey, and this goes back to like your question. It's like, hey, you're trying to win the day by do all these things for the def reset and you screw up. Okay, cool. What's next? Just start over tomorrow.
Yeah. That entire, all of your accomplishments today on that little checklist, they all get erased at the end of the night. You got to do them all again tomorrow.
That list goes away. All the things that were done, all your wins goes away.
Yep.
The count is 0.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. And guess what? The next day, the count is 0. The count is 0. The count is 0. Which means you get an opportunity for a fresh start.
Yep.
Which is cool.
Yeah, I love that. You know, I wonder how much. So you did some motocross racing.
I used to ride dirt bikes, but I did street bike racing.
Okay. Yeah. That's what. Yeah. Okay. So like
motocross,
MotoGP, right?
Yeah. I mean, not at that high level, obviously.
Right, but that style.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
I was like, let's be very. Someone's gonna be like,
so like we grew up with motocross, right? That's what we did. Did you ever fall off your bike? Right,
dude. I wrecked my dirt bike so bad in my grandparents' pasture. Like I think I still have like the scar.
Yeah.
And the first thing my dad did was like, nope, get back on the bike. I mean,
that's exactly
I was
right.
just like in so much pain. I couldn't breathe. I mean, it was, and he was like, nope, get back on. Like literally got me back on the bike and was like, and now I was like going, blah, 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 blah,
right.
like, until I got my confidence back in. But that was his thing. It's like, no, get back on the bike. Because then if not, then you'll never want to ride again.
Right. That's the get back on the horse mentality. Yep. Right. And that I think is one of the things that an individual sport or individual things like this encourage that you don't always get in team sports.
Like wrestling is incredible.
Yeah, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, but also, those little things like horse riding or motocross or, if you're a skateboarder or a BMX guy or whatever, Ryan Parrott talked about this a little bit whenever he was on the podcast months ago, which was like he's a skater and you fall off the board and then you're not done for the day, right? Yeah. You can fall off your skateboard your very first drop in. And most people, especially if you've never dropped into a half pipe or a pool before, you're gonna wipe out.
Dude, I remember the first time trying to drop into a half pipe. My buddy,
impossibly
Garrett
difficult.
Peterson, grew up with in elementary school. His older brothers were like big skaters, and this was like in the 80s, 90s, right, when skateboarding was big out in the West Coast. Right. Thrasher magazine, all those things.
Tony Hawk was like up and coming. Tony Hawk
not at this point yet.
This would have been like mid 90s.
No, this is early 90s.
Early 90s.
I was born in 83, so 90 was 7th. I was 7 years old, so that would have been. I don't know what grade I was.
Yeah, so this is like right before Tony Hawk's video games are out, but like when he is like the pro skater in Thrasher magazine.
This is before then, right? This is absolutely before then. Because I'm in elementary school,
right?
Like 4th, 5th, 6th grade.
Yeah.
5th, 6th grade, going over to his house and like his skateboarding and everything. And his older brothers, they were crazy.
Yeah.
Like when people talk about old school skaters, I'm like, bro, you don't understand. Like the West Coast, like these guys
they were nuts.
They were gnarly.
Yeah.
And his brothers were insane. Like just insane for multiple other things, like legit, like the satanic music they listened to, and just
it was all part of the culture.
It was just crazy, which is crazy. Like and my parents had no idea. They would never had let me in that house, obviously,
right?
And that's why it's so important to know like where your kids are going and who they're being around, because that stuff has effects, But anyways, they had a half pipe in their built on the side of their house, and it was like a legit full size, and it was. I mean, I remember the first time, like, you're just like terrified, and they're just like, "You gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go." And I'm like Garrett goes, and I'm like, boom, and I just go and I just eat it and just slide all the way down, and they were all like cheering me. They're like, "Yeah, that was awesome."
Yep.
And so I got back up, and so kind of going back to what you said, it's like you gotta have good people that are going to push you. Like, hey, you fall, get back up. You fall, get back up. You fall, get back up. And eventually I was able to actually write it down, and it was awesome.
Yeah. When I was a missionary in Canada,
Which I hate skateboarding, by the way.
Yeah.
I was never good at it. I don't like it.
It's not one of my favorite activities, right? No. But I really wanted to, when I was in Canada, I really wanted to snowboard. Mm-hmm. So I got a snowboard. The first snow that we got, they took me out to, we snuck onto this golf course, and because they're not using it, it's snowing. And they showed me kind of how to use the board on some hills. Well, the next day, a bunch of guys are going out and they're like, hey, you can come out with us and whatever. So they made this crude little ramp, and the guys were taking jumps. And I was like, freaking, I'm going to do it. Oh my God. So I don't know how many times I did it and just wiped out. Right. But I was like, they're like, bro, this is a hard one. I was like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to land it once. Right. Mm-hmm. That's the whole deal. Right. Because I'm with this new group of guys, and there's part of it. It's like, okay, you want to prove yourself. They're like, all right, I'm going to try this. I'm not going to be a quitter. But also that there's something about these kind of communal activities when it is an individualized thing that you also want to prove, and I'll use some musician lingo, that you want to be that you're a good hang. That hey, listen, if you guys do this, I know what my limitations are, but you know what, I'm in it. We used to say FERTA, do it for the boys. And so those are huge Canadian and hockey things. Everything was FERTA. And so I hit a ramp and wiped out, and did it probably 4 times, yards, different than skis, because skis, whenever you land, they just go pop off. The snowboard, you're attached to a death plank that just thrashes you around. And so I finally landed after the 4th or 5th time, and I was done for the day. I knew I was done for the day, and I was happy that I was done for the day. But I landed it, and that's all anybody was talking about. There were guys that did so much that were infinitely more skilled than I was. But when we went out to dinner that night, everybody was my meal got paid for. They're all talking about how I did these jumps. I hadn't done anything in 7 hours. I was just sitting there, kind of licking my wounds, right? Just slowly taking Advil, waiting for the pain to set it. And it was awful the next couple of days, man. I felt like I'd been in I was the same impact as when you're in a wreck. But that idea that nope, you got back up and did it. And then anytime we went to go do something, even though I was the worst one, when they went to the big X Games park down in Minnesota, I got an invite. And they're like, yeah, no, because Luke's a good hang. He'll be there. He'll try some stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He'll listen to us, but he's gonna give it a shot. And so we'll do it. And I got to go to all of those places that I had no business going to, because I was willing to get back on the horse. And that's one of those stories that I look at and I'm like, if I would have at the first one just been no, you guys are right, I shouldn't do it, I can't do it. Most of those opportunities are lost, right? And when you get to the top of the hill, and what Troy Basham said, when he was on here, is that each time when you go through that mental management process, right, that each time you start back at 0 and you work the mental process from 0 to 3 or however many steps are in it. And then when you fail, you go back to 0 and then you start it over all again. That each try is just about that one try. Each rep is just about that one rep. And bro, I think that's an incredibly impactful thing if you can learn to do it. And that's really one of the things I think that I've learned the most from you over the last year and a half is just that, one more rep mentality. Think about what you're doing right now and do it to the best of your ability. So kind of not necessarily switching gears, but kind of changing phases a little bit. With something like the DEF reset, you've got it's more of a challenge than a resolution. It's only 28 days. You do it for the 28 days, and then the idea is that you'll implement these disciplines further on, right? Same thing with 75 hard, though that's a more intense challenge. A lot of those things are overlapping. When it comes to resolutions and stuff like that, do you do resolutions? Do you set goals? How do you map out your year?
Yeah, no, I don't do any of the resolutions anymore. Like I don't list like, hey, this is what I'm going to do this year. I just kind of keep doing things the same way, and I'm a little more mindful of it.
Right.
I think, actually, I know I am. Yeah, I'm definitely more mindful of, hey, beginning of the year, let's dial stuff back in. But like you said earlier, and I smiled, like the whole like New Year thing is
New Year, new me.
weird. Yeah. Yeah, just the whole concept of like a new year is just, it's weird. It's like, no, we just keep going.
Yeah.
We just keep going. Nothing stopped. We're going to keep going. And so for me, I've never been one like in the last couple of years to like be like, hey, I'm going to really sit down and do these resolutions and I'm going to map things out. I just never really did that. So,
do you have like habits that you want to learn? Are there some of those things? Because I don't do the resolution thing anymore like I used to, but I will kind of set up and say, hey, you know what? Here's my assessment for how I did in 2024.
Yeah.
These are some things, we kind of talked about one of them. These are some things that some habits I want to really be intentional about figuring out. You know, one of them is, that sort of backdating, like do the little things throughout that I know are coming up, right? Do the little things to make sure that I'm successful in 4 months, right? By doing 10 minutes of work today and making that happen. Are there those little habits that you like have that you want to hone in on?
I think it would be cool. I've said this for over a year. Maybe it is something I have to be like, hey, in 2025, I'm going to do this. So that's what happens. But I mean, I think it would be cool to be able to play the guitar.
Oh yeah. It's fun.
Yeah. It seems interesting to me and it seems fun. And I think it would be cool.
I know a guy who can help you learn how to do it.
I know a guy too.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't have a strong enough desire.
Right.
Because I have not made it a priority.
Yeah.
So I think I need to get like some other personal things dialed in before I'm like really focused on like other things. Like there's stuff around our house I need to get done.
Yeah.
There's stuff in some businesses that I need to like really focus on. Yep. So I guess
you
like
need me to punch Josh for you.
Yeah.
I will sock him right in the nose.
So there are things that like
I had a little more.
I mean, you can do anything.
Yeah, you can do anything once, right?
I mean, you can do anything. There's consequences, though, to your actions.
For sure.
I think I personally just need to get some stuff dialed in at home and in business and Echelon Front. When I say business, Echelon Front stuff as well, obviously. And there's focuses that I have for Echelon Front this year in regards to the program, building out some different events and programs as well. I would like to start writing more just to... not for like writing a book, but writing to be more proficient with my words for speaking purposes.
I would
that's one of the things Jocko said.
A JP Dinnell blog.
Our blog's still a thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and they're still like they still drive traffic. But if here's what I want, YouTubers in the comments. How interested would y'all be if we did like a monthly or like a bi-monthly email where like we kind of put in some of the events that you were doing at Echelon Front. Maybe we put some thoughts about the podcast and stuff in there, but also, we had 750 words once a month from JP. I would be really interested in that because I've read some of the stuff that you've written. I read our show notes and you're good at it. It's interesting, dude. The way your mind works is fascinating. I'm glad you're so uncomfortable right now. I can check this box of 2025. Continue to make JP uncomfortable. Boom.
We'll see.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'll think about it. Because there is writing that I need to do for Echelon Front that last year I just did not make a priority.
Yeah.
So, so to answer your question, I guess nothing too specific other than just getting my own stuff squared away at a level that needs to be squared away before I can like focus on, hey, these are things I want to do. I'm doing the Jiu-Jitsu tournaments this month. You are as well. Well, actually,
next month.
Technically,
next month.
Yeah. You're doing the first.
And I'm doing Jiu-Jitsu tournament.
Yeah. I think
Just
we'll see.
singular.
Well, hopefully I'll be able to do both of them. But I got booked on an event on that Saturday.
For World League?
Yeah, no, the Dallas Open.
Oh,
Yeah, on the 25th. But it's
I would
a local
much rather
one.
you go to the Dallas Open.
But it's a local one.
Than World League.
But it's a local one in the morning. So we'll see.
Potentially.
I'm going to sign up for it. I talked to Formiga and Brent about it and Victoria. So I'm going to sign up for it. And depending on what time my bracket is that day, I might be getting done with my keynote and heading straight to the tournament, weighing in, and then going.
That'd be rad.
So we'll see.
Yeah, that'd be very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think, last year I set a goal for like how many books I wanted to read, and I was at 60, and I was counting last night. I think I made it to 78.
Wow.
So this year I want to slow down because that was a lot. Like every minute where that wasn't filled with something like on the schedule or an interaction or whatever, I always had a book with me. I was always listening to a book on, while instead of podcasts or things like that, it was a book while I was working. It was an audio book while I was working out. If I was on the treadmill, I was reading. If, all of the training that I did with 75 Hard or for the half marathon, there was always something in my ear all the time or a book in my hand that like every moment of downtime that I had, I'm turning pages on something or was reading through something because I really wanted to hit that goal. And
there are two things that I'm going to do this year.
Yeah, I'm slowing down.
One thing that is extremely difficult. Like I've got to find something that is going to like just that's why I said the Jiu-Jitsu tournament's not that. Something that's going to absolutely like really, really, really test myself.
Yep.
All right. And it might be one of those things where I probably don't do the are you in or are you out because it won't be fair to others. Because when I did the are you in or are you out thing with you, Josh, Steven, and Isaac for the Jiu-Jitsu tournament, it was a workable thing. Everybody, even Steven, where he's moved levels. 90 minutes away and he's not training Jiu-Jitsu, he's busy with work, he's got a lot of stuff going on with his new job. He could still do the tournament.
Yeah, you could be playing fantasy football and never have done jiu-jitsu before and still do a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Exactly.
All you got to do is sign up.
That's my point.
Yeah.
And Steven's jiu-jitsu IQ is very high. And is also, he told me, I need to get in better shape. Cool. Well, here's your push, bud. And so he can be doing body weight workouts. He can be working out, on his own. Whether he does it or not, it's his choice. And that was the point. It was like, hey, you can train whether you want or not. It's your choice. But I want to do something that's just like absolute, like, why did I sign up for this type of gut check? And then one or two times this year, just getting out, backpacking, hiking, nature somewhere, but not just like driving to a campground, but actually getting out into the wilderness for 3 to 5 days again.
Yeah.
So
Rob Jones and I have been talking, and this isn't a "Are you in, are you out" thing because Rob was like pushing me. He's like, "You should do it. You should do it as a, are you in, or you out?" And we both just had so much stuff going on. I also am interested in thing number one.
Okay.
Right. I don't think the jiu-jitsu tournament for me is that at all.
I'm not being disrespectful towards the tournament, towards anybody else.
No,
but it's not, because literally here's why I say this. I can just show up on Saturday after I do my keynote and go lose because I get beat by somebody who's really good, and that's not very difficult.
Oh, no, not at all.
I can also go out there, which I'm going to. This is the way I'm going to go out there. I'm going to go out there with the intent to win.
Right.
Like I'm going to go out there with the intent to be on the podium with my hand raised because I got gold, because I'm getting gold. All right. That's my intent. But if I do that, cool. It's no different. And I'm telling you right now, it will be no harder than the classes I do at 5 at a noon class.
Oh, no.
Zero chance.
No doubt. Having been to some of those noon classes, no.
There's zero chance that any of my matches in a jiu-jitsu tournament will be close to the beatdown that I get at a noon class at Double Five in
from
Highlands
Brent
Village.
and from Todd and from all those other just like
Brett, Todd,
mastodons,
Isaac,
and,
Tom, Tristan,
yeah,
Anthony, Trey,
Matt,
freaking Joel,
Ryan,
Matt like any of those guys. And
Just
I'm sorry
killers.
if I forgot your name. If I forgot your name, well then maybe you should beat me down harder.
You don't have to do that to me if I forgot your name.
No, please do.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and like that for me, the jiu-jitsu tournament is one that
it's pushing me outside my comfort zone.
Yeah,
to go
for
do
sure.
this tournament.
But I told Kirsten was like, "Is this something that you want me to go to?" I was like, "I don't know." Right? Because
She should.
I was
she
like,
should. I think it would be cool.
Here's the definitely don't bring the boys. Right?
Come on, bro. You got to let your sons watch you.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know what to expect for the first one.
Who cares?
Right? Well, here's the other thing. Like they don't know right now what too rough is. If it's going to be her that's there, that's a lot for her to juggle with a 9-month-old and a 2-year-old that are going to be at a tournament, even if there are other people that are there.
My family will be there to help.
Yep, sure. But I don't know how she's going to react when you've got somebody that it's one thing when we're
I get it.
Yeah,
I
when we're
understand.
at, training and she shows up and she sees me getting just completely smoked by somebody that we know versus
I get it.
Yeah, somebody else. So so we went to one of her brother's wrestling tournaments and she was like fit to be tied because the guy did like an illegal move and I thought she was going to go out there and fight this 14-year-old. Like I was like, okay, good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we don't know. We don't know how that's going to be or where all of those things are. So, but I told her, I was like, listen, my total mat time, if they guarantee me 3 matches, could be 3 minutes. And those 3 minutes could be a really difficult 3 minutes to watch. Right? So,
the good thing I will say, maybe not as much as you think, because jiu-jitsu. Now, if it's MMA and you're getting like actually punched and kicked, like that's hard to watch.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, no, I get it.
We did some stupid boxing matches and stuff like that were part of like charity events and things like that. And in those things, I was actually able to hold my own pretty well. So if it was like a stand-up boxing match against another guy just off the street, I would feel pretty good about my chances, even having not trained this. In jiu-jitsu, my jiu-jitsu IQ is in the negatives. So like all of these things, I'm like, listen, honey, I don't need you to pay $60 to watch me get beat up when I'm already having to pay that to get beat up. We don't need to double our losses here so that both of us can watch my shame. But that said, like that's one of those things that like, you can sign up and do it. My goal with running, we talked about like try to get under 24 minutes for a 5K. Like,
it was 24 or 21?
The 24 is the goal. 21 is that like extra reach.
Okay,
right?
yeah, got it.
And I was talking to Rob, and I was like, I legitimately think I could do a full if I trained now.
Yeah.
But it would be something that like where the half marathon was just make it through.
Yeah.
Like the full would be to have a respectable time. Is that something that you think like in this number one, is that something that falls into that, or is that still like not a difficult enough thing for you?
That would be,
or would it have
cool.
to be like a specific time and say, hey, you've got to do a full in under 3 hours?
No, it's something, I don't know. There's something different. I've got to figure out exactly what it is. Like, I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't know.
Because I know if we did it, are you in or you out, you would do it. Then you would end up doing the full. But whether or not that's really going to scratch the itch or serve the purpose to be like the thing that pushes you. Because it's one of the things that I'm considering, like, hey, is that something that I want to do this year? And just to check that box and be like, yeah. And now I'm not going to put the sticker on my back window like a twerp.
I'll put it on your car.
I'm going to slash your tires.
Okay.
No, that's it's one of those things that like that if If I did it, then maybe. But I don't know. I'm with you. I got to find something that really gets me outside of my comfort zone from a physical standpoint, other than just
the
like
backpacking
the
trip
tournament.
was a
humbling
step
experience
off for me. Like I will say, it kickstarted this. Like okay, so I'm in a
like
group
better
text.
shape with a purpose.
Yeah, for sure. I'm in a group text with Tyron, Pastor Chris, and Mike Mitchell. Pastor Tyron, Pastor Chris, and Mike from our backpacking trip.
Yeah.
And Pastor Chris sent a picture of this out of a book, and I'll read it to everybody. It said, "The Lord took Abraham outside and said to him, 'Look up into the sky and count the stars if you can. That's how many descendants you will have.'" It's easy to read right over what happened here, but this was a defining moment. Notice Abraham was inside the tent 1 minute and outside the next. What difference did that make? As long as Abraham was inside his tent, he was staring at an 8-foot ceiling. The second he stepped outside, the sky was the limit. God was saying, in no uncertain terms, quit putting an 8-foot ceiling on what I can do. Quit putting man-made ceilings on my sovereignty. It's never too little and it's never too late. And then it says the 3-day effect. There is a phenomenon in science called the 3-day effect. It takes 3 days in the wild to reset your brain. According to cognitive neuroscience scientist David Strayer, after 3 days in the wild, our ability to problem solve escalates. So does inductive reasoning. When we get outside the tent, it's easier to think outside the box. We start noticing everyday miracles. And then Pastor Chris said, "The Lord is speaking, the 3-day effect. Time to get him in the wild." Happy New Year, man. Grateful for each of you. So I was like, that's awesome. I was literally thinking about this last night, wanting to do a quick hiking getaway trip to make up for the last one with you guys. And that was out of a book called A Million Little Miracles by Mark Batterson.
Yeah.
So, have you read that book?
I have not. Mark's an interesting guy, though. He's I think he's the one who wrote the In a Pit with a Sword and a Lion and a Snow Leopard. That's the one you were reading.
I'm so bad with names.
But you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So it is fascinating to see like what happens when you do get out in a little bit and exit out of your comfort zone, because it does cause you. And I think one of the things it does is it realigns you with, not to sound too ethereal, it realigns you with your place in the universe, with your own personal, not just limitations, but significance.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah.
And that's a really important thing, because we get stuck, especially when we're in offices day in and day out. And then we're in leadership positions and everything depends on us for whether it's running a certain aspect of a company or running a larger thing. And as much as we decentralize command or whatever, like even those people that we've decentralized command to, even if they could step up and do our jobs, they're still dependent upon us. They're still, asking us questions and doing those kind of things and getting into nature and realizing
you're not that big. You're nothing, actually.
Yeah. Like pretty much. Like everything around you is not dependent upon you at all. If anything, they are worse off for you being in this place right now, doing the things that you're doing. It's one of those things that's just kind of like,
and it's like you get yourself injured out in the backcountry.
Yeah.
You could die. You literally can die out there. And so it's a good opportunity to go out into the wild, into the wilderness, and just recognize how big the world is, how good God is, and all the things that he's created, and just have that reset of just not having this stupid piece of technology with you at all times, being able to actually just turn it off and,
get away,
just getting away. So,
man.
So that's two things I'd like to do. And there's other things that with Amanda and I, we've talked about a few things that her and I would like to do and focus on a few things with the kids, but like nothing that I'm putting on like this big 2025 list.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's funny I say that, but I also have like continual to-do lists that I have. Like I always have stuff that I'm working on and doing. So I guess that would be the answer to your question is I have those to-do lists almost all the time running.
Yeah.
So it's not like I just do one for the year.
Which I think is a better, like we talked about at the very beginning, to call it back. Like that's a better way to do it. Don't wait till Sunday or Monday or January 1st. Like those are arbitrary dates and times. It's all stuff that we made up. So
yeah,
that tomorrow is a great time to start. Today is even better.
Seth Stone's brother Alex was with me recently. Him and his family spent the weekend with us, and it was absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
I wish I could have gotten.
This is Chaplain Alex.
Yeah, Chaplain Alex Stone. It would have been great to have him on the podcast, but you know we'll do it over Zoom. He said in the future it would be really cool. I forget. You know, when you're not around somebody, you forget how brilliant they are. And Seth was so insanely brilliant.
Yeah.
And Alex is just insanely brilliant that I was just like, I mean, he has 3 master's degrees. One of them is in theology. And also he studies Hebrew so that he can actually like
read the original text.
Have the true.
Yeah.
Just wait until he gets on. You guys are, it's gonna be awesome. But he was telling me, I forgot this, and because he's like, "How did you know Seth had this?" I'm like, "No," because I hadn't thought of it forever. And then as the more we talked about it, I was like, I do remember Seth talking about stuff like this, but I didn't know he had an actual list. Seth had a fear list, things that he was afraid of, things that he was like, "Nope, I don't like that." He'd put it on there, and then he'd make himself do something off that list.
That's cool.
So when we went through SQT, Seth was terrified of jumping.
Really?
I have a video of us. I'm sorry. I have a picture of it's Seth, myself, and another one of my buddies. It's in our first platoon. We're in the airplane getting ready to go jumps. And like him and I are just like cracking jokes, having fun, trying to make Seth feel better because he was just like terrified, nervous. And then he turns into this big skydiving guy. And so, yeah, he had a fear list. And if it was on the list, then he would go do it.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah,
pretty awesome.
Maybe we should all create fear lists. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Cool.
I can't think of anything I'm afraid of. Success.
It's like people are like, I don't cry. I've never cried before.
Right? The only thing I'm afraid of is more success.
The only thing I'm afraid of is being better than I already am.
Self-sabotage.
I might be so good that I go in reverse.
Boy.
All right. I'm going to close it out. Some final thoughts. But just want to thank you guys for all the support. This one's going to have like 0 listeners that actually listen all the way through. So I don't even know why I'm doing this part.
You know what? I guarantee you that on Friday, this is going to be our most listened to episode of 2025.
You're right. Now, completion-wise, I don't even know if anybody's at this point.
Who knows?
Whatever. All right, we're going to wrap it up.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Appreciate all of you guys that are actually still here. For all the people that are listening, sharing, subscribing, commenting. Make sure you're subscribed to us on YouTube so you can be notified when the different YouTube exclusive episodes come out. We appreciate you guys spreading the word. If you want to follow us on social media, I am at JP Dinnell, 2 N's, 2 L's. Lucas is at Lucas Pinckard, Lucaspinckard. Make sure you're also following Echelon Front on social media. We are at Echelon Front. Go to our website, echelonfront.com. Check out what we have going on, the different events, different merchandise that we have. Hopefully seeing you guys at a muster coming up. We have the next muster is going to be in San Diego in February. And I mean, it's already 80-something% sold out. And after the muster, there's a 1-day FTX only for muster attendees. So
that makes me want to make a trip to San Antonio. Or not San Antonio, San Diego.
San Diego?
I'd rather go to San Diego than San Antonio.
I was like, that's a unique location.
Churros
but we are also going to have a muster in San Antonio this year.
That's probably what was on the brain because we're not in Dallas this year.
Yep. Nope. Also, check out Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. It's a ministry that I'm a part of. On Instagram, it's at Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu_USA. We have a podcast that comes out with episodes every Tuesday. We're doing different events about every 4 to 6 weeks at different gyms. Start off with a free Jiu-Jitsu seminar. Someone shares their testimony, and then we open it up for some open mat and some good training. Make sure you check out Little Cattle Co.
Get that beef.
Oh, man.
Come on, baby.
I caught you slacking. No, I'm just kidding.
You did.
Our website is littlecattle.co. It's a Texas beef company that I'm a partner of with Stephen Little, his wife, my wife. We're a custom beef company that allows you to order exactly what you want anytime. We're able to deliver anywhere in the lower 48 states. I know we have been sold out of almost all of our stuff recently. It was crazy.
I got the
holidays.
email that it's back in.
Yeah.
We're in stocked.
We are doing it today.
Come on,
so
baby.
that's why, yeah. So it's going to be back in stock. So when you're listening to this, we will have probably all of our stuff still in stock unless people go on there and just wipe us out like they did over
Freaking do
Christmas and New Year's.
You know, we dare y'all to wipe out Little Cattle Co.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
It's your 2025 challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep the beef out of
Being
the
sold out is not a good business method, by the way. Just FYI, in case anybody's wondering.
Says you.
Well, I can tell you, says the business. Because when you're sold out, you can't sell more stuff.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, it's not a,
That's how my Etsy
We're
page
working
is.
through that.
My Etsy page is totally sold out.
We're working through all those problems. You could call them opportunities.
Good opportunity to
It has been a good
slaughter more
opportunity.
cows.
Yeah. So we also have a ground beef subscription plan. We have different beef tallow products, which include the body butter, tallow cream, lip balm. We also have beef sticks that are just unreal. So good.
Quick note about the beef tallow products.
Yep.
So Levi is like me. He's got real sensitive skin, and so he gets like the little bumps. That's like, it's not eczema, but it's also like not good.
Yeah.
The doctor was like, put Aquifer on it. Put Aquifer on it. Put Aquifer on it. Aquifer like built a barrier. Great for diaper rash.
Yeah.
Was not doing anything for his face and his arms.
Nope.
Took a little bit of the beef tallow with the lavender in it, which is just like a hint. It's not like super strong. Arms and legs. Doc was like, hey, so did the Aquifer work? We're like, actually, no. Beef tallow. This is it. Get it. And she was like, I will have to recommend this to some of our other people.
I hope she does.
It worked tremendously for our kid.
Yeah.
So thanks.
That's awesome.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, I mean, one, you're welcome, and two, we've heard that from
so many folks, I'm
like
sure.
dozens and dozens, like literally dozens and dozens.
I use it as
people.
aftershave, especially after I'm like slice my face all up because my face doesn't like to be shaved right now. My baby face has been protected by that beard for so long.
It looks good, man.
But it also seals up all the cuts without burning and stuff.
It's great.
So good.
If you want to be a wholesaler for the beef sticks and or the beef tallow products, send us an email to amanda@littlecattle.co. Also partner with a printing company called On the Path Printing. Josh and I started that company on Instagram. It's @OnThePathPrinting. Send us a message. Let us know if you have any apparel printing needs. I know we're cranking out some new shirts for Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu, which those are going to be awesome. Actually, you'll see when they're posted. Leif, Jocko, and I have a company called Bruiser Arms. Check us out on Instagram. We are @BruiserArms. Send us a message about the different gear packages that we offer and training classes as well. Also, make sure you're checking out Origin and Jocko Fuel. I want to just thank them for all the support they've given over the years. What they've done is absolutely incredible. If you want to get some of the best jiu-jitsu gear and regular clothes that are made 100% here in America, go to originusa.com. Go to jockofuel.com to get your supplements and clean energy drinks. It's just really cool to just see what Pete Roberts has done with those companies, what Brian Littlefield has done, what Jocko's been able to help influence and do with those as well. What Amanda Roberts has done, partnered with Pete, as a married couple, being able to grow a business like they have is freaking incredible.
It's awesome.
It's unreal. And so it's cool. I went for just a little quick 2-mile ruck last night. And I had it's funny. I Jocko and I were texting back and forth and I sent him like a little picture. I was like nighttime ops and he's like, get some. And I realized I took a video. I was like Origin beanie, Origin puffy jacket, Origin RTX, Burr, Highland, lightweight hoodie, that little workout hoodie, so I had that. And then I had the Moab, double, stitched, pants.
Yeah.
And, the mock toe boot.
Come on, baby.
And, the socks I had were the Darn Tough socks.
Yeah.
And so those are made in America as well, up in Vermont, I believe. And so I was like, I'm 100% American made.
That's beautiful.
It was just awesome. And yeah, even like wearing the boots, those mock toe boots are freaking comfortable. Yep. I was able to go for a 2 mile ruck with a 45-pound Go Ruck bag on last night, and just like, all right, cool.
Just get after it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff in my my lugs that the Origin lug boots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even with the composite toe, they're super comfortable.
Dude, they're awesome.
Yep.
So I love their gear. So
Still going
appreciate everything that they do, and all of you guys, all the listeners that support them as well. Also, we have to give a little shout out to Half Face Blades.
Come on, man.
And my buddy Andy there, and just everything that he has created from a company standpoint is unreal. I mean,
We got to get Andy on.
I know we've talked about. I was talking with him over Christmas, and I'm probably going to see him next week when I'm in San Diego.
Cool.
But I mean, what he's done from a business standpoint is unreal.
So
I remember the little shed
Yeah.
in his backyard of San Diego when he first started making the knives. Like, it's crazy.
That's wild, man.
It's absolutely crazy. I have.
And now people are like literally fighting over him. Which is
And they sell
just
out so
nuts,
quick, and just he's such a good human, and the support he's given me over all the years. And we have some knives from Half Face Blades for the Bruiser arm kits. Echelon Front has some knives. Origin's done some collabs with him as well. And you got me a beautiful knife for the 1 year anniversary of the podcast. It's just all of his stuff. I was thinking the other night about just the evolution of his business.
Yeah.
And, I took a picture, I pulled them out, and I sent this picture to Andy, and I'll show you real quick. I got these for the girls when he first started, and I could barely afford to get these.
Yeah.
But I got these for the girls. Look at the old
those are
original
cute.
logo.
Oh, wow. I have never seen that.
Yep.
So the original logo was a half a lion face.
Yeah.
That's cool. Dude, those are gorgeous, even though they are pink. They're beautiful and cute.
Yeah.
I love the sheaths also. the Kydex
But
pink
it's just
camo.
crazy when you look at that.
Yeah.
Versus, and those are awesome when I got them.
Oh,
and then
phenomenal. Like there's a high level of craftsmanship in those blades.
yeah. But then when you look at the current ones, you're like,
It's evolved.
holy cow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I sent him that, and anyways,
That's too neat.
Had a good conversation with him on Christmas over FaceTime.
That's cool.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, as we close out this episode and as we kick off the year, I would say my closing thoughts are just go out there and keep doing the work. If you fall off the path, no factor. Don't take yourself too serious. Don't take whatever you're doing too serious, but take it serious enough to go out there and do the work and keep getting after it every single day so that you can be a better version of who you are for your family, for your business, for your friends, for your community, whoever it is, right? We need to be out there striving to be a better version. So push yourself daily and get yourself in uncomfortable situations daily for growth. But if you do have a slip up, if you do have a little moment where you fall off the path and you're not doing what you should be doing, okay, dust off, get back on the path, recalibrate yourself, and like re-engage, get back in the fight, and keep pushing forward. Because the worst thing you can do is quit, is to fully quit on yourself, to quit on your family, your community, your business, and the people around you. So I hope this episode has been a reminder to go do the work needed, to put in the effort, and to never settle. This has been the JP Dinnell Podcast, episode 67.